Good afternoon, everybody. It is Emma Flynn, psychologist, for those who may or may not know me. I was keen to hop on LinkedIn. I haven't made a video for a while, but I did get a very strong calling, I guess, to post a video. And this followed a very sad incident in Dublin city centre where tragically three children were stabbed, and they are now receiving treatment. I send my regards, importantly, to and best wishes and thoughts to the children and their family. And ultimately, really, the crux of my message today is let's do better. Let's do better. It's easy to get on the bandwagon and be angry and protest and label those protesters and judge those protesters and do nothing but judge and criticize. But I think all involved, wider community, including police and other services, can all work together to support the community at large, to help diffuse and manage and support the protesters and the community at large better. My contribution is a twofold one as a psychologist. One is to look at understanding through schema therapy what might be some contributing factors that have led to the writing. And then the second is to propose alternative supportive options. So we're going to talk about a number of schemas. And the first one that I wanted to talk about is the abandonment schema. The stabbing incident itself may have actually triggered intense sense of abandonment among the rioters and community. And that schema could very well have been rooted in past experiences of neglect or loss. Which has actually, heightened the emotional reactions and led to the destructive behaviour for them, I guess, as a way to cope with the overwhelming fear of being alone in their struggle and their immediate need to seek justice. The second schema that I wanted to talk about is the mistrust abuse schema. For anybody with a history of real or perceived mistreatment, especially some of I guess the protesters or rioters that we've seen in the social media could have actually activated their mistrust abuse schema. And again, this history could be, real or perceived mistreatment. And this could also be related to racial, dynamics in the Dublin, Irish communities that can actually activate that sense of, mistrust or abuse. And so, the rioters or protesters themselves may actually interpret the stabbing incident within the context of this schema, which would really, I guess, reinforce their belief that the world is ultimately and fundamentally unfair, which to them may justify their aggressive response as a means for self-protection or even protecting the community at large. The third schema that I wanted to talk about is social isolation or alienation. And that is all about, I guess, feelings of isolation and alienation, particularly within a larger Dublin societal context, where there may always be or has been some simmering, sometimes more direct racial tension. That can contribute, to the desire for collective action. And so the rioting may have actually been an attempt to bridge the gap between these people, these individuals who share similar schema-related experience, and then for them, I guess, providing a sense of belonging and shared purpose in choosing, writing as a way to express or cope with this. The fourth schema that I wanted to talk about is entitlement. The perception, perhaps maybe amongst the writers and the community at large, that there's injustice. Indeed, there is. There's huge injustice in the stabbing incident, especially if it initially has been seen as a racial matter. And consequences of racial prejudice may indeed have activated that sense of entitlement. The writers may have just felt entitled to act out, therefore, in their own destructive manner. And for them, that was a sense to reclaim a sense of power and control in response, really, to their perception of violation of their rights. The fifth schema that I wanted to talk about is insufficient self-control. So some of the writers may have actually struggled with managing intense emotions. We know in traumatic experiences we can go into fight, flight, or freeze. And the stabbing incident may have actually triggered, indeed, literally more of the fight response. And therefore an insufficient self-control schema was activated and has resulted really in the impulsive destructive behaviours that we're seeing in social media at large during the moments of what was for them their heightened emotional distress. The sixth schema that I want to talk about is social reinforcement. So if the writing behaviours are reinforced, and obviously this is what we don't want to see happen by social circles or media portrayals, their schema for approval seeking may play a role in this, because there is a desire for them to have a sense of recognition and validation from the broader community, as a way, I guess, to gain, social approval for their, I guess, perceived sense of how they've obtained or tried to obtain social justice, given the sad incident of the stabbing. The last schema that I want to talk about is for the writers, that for them, they may have felt that there was a lack of, alternatives. So they felt, in the midst of what's happened, that this was, the only immediate accessible avenue to respond to what's happened. So, they felt at that time there was no viable alternatives for expressing their grievances or a way of getting justice. And that, could be related to, schemas of hopelessness. And again, they felt that the writing was the only way to draw attention really to that cause, when for them, whether that's in related to this direct incident or previous issues that and challenges that they've experienced, that conventional channels were or have been ineffective for them. The second really key part of what I wanted to look at today is, what are more, I guess, helpful ways to seek a way of, or a sense of getting justice. And I guess there's a couple that I really want to get the communities and writers to think about. And the first is, how can they actually offer support to the injured family and children? So instead of retaliation, how about we focus on supporting the family members, trying to identify what their immediate, medium and long-term needs will be, and take some positive actions around that, and help with the healing, for the community and the family and the children that are involved. The second alternative that I want to implore is that, it's easy for us to judge and label and condemn the writers and what's happened. But how about, the community try and find a way forward together? And I have a strong belief that, services, mental health services, community services, business, and the Gardaí, and so on, have a huge role and opportunity here for collaboration. How can we get the community at large to come together to foster more productive community initiatives for change? Again, I want to thank you for listening and watching this video. And again, my key message here is let's do better. To the writers and to the community at large in Dublin and the Irish community. Take care.